This is hashtag trending for Thursday, July the 16th, 2026. The first humanoid robot teacher starts in an upstate New York classroom. U.S. startups may be increasingly powered by Chinese AI. Conservatives hold a national day of protest against data centers, and developers are panning Microsoft's new Xbox strategy, saying Microsoft is destroying value. Those are the headlines. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. An upstate New York school district will soon become home to what many think is the first humanoid robot teaching assistant in a North American classroom. Now, for years, we've been talking about AI changing education. Now we're about to see what happens when AI doesn't just appear on a laptop screen, but takes a seat as a teacher. The robot remains seated while it's teaching, but otherwise it's fully mobile, giving it a physical presence that's very different from the AI tutors that students use online today. The actual classroom teacher, a human, stays in charge, and the robot's role, for now at least, is to support instruction using a STEM curriculum developed by none other than Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. The robot can answer routine questions, reinforce lessons, and draw on an entire curriculum instantly, making it a resource not just for the students, but possibly for the teachers as well. Its usefulness doesn't end when the school day does. Students can continue working with the robot from home, getting help with their homework, or exploring subjects that interest them at their own pace. And while it recognizes individual students through confidential identification codes, so it can personalize each learning experience, the system is designed not to retain students' personal information. Unlike many AI systems, it isn't connected directly to the public internet. It's also been programmed with clear safety guardrails. If a conversation suggests bullying, abuse, or self-harm, the robot doesn't try to counsel students itself. Instead, it alerts human staff so trained professionals can step in. The pilot is taking place in a school serving a largely indigenous community in upstate New York. Like teachers everywhere, educators there face the challenge of managing classrooms where students learn at different speeds and have different needs. A humanoid robot that can reinforce lessons, answer routine questions, provide individual support after school, and instantly access an expert-designed curriculum could become another valuable classroom resource, allowing teachers to spend more time where they're needed most. Whether robots eventually can become teachers by themselves is a question nobody can answer yet, and the pilot may not even settle that debate. But it does mark the first real step towards understanding what role humanoid robots can play in education. There are detractors, there are supporters, but regardless of how you feel about it, it's certainly worth watching. One final twist: the company behind the robot is based in Toronto, Canada, but it has one of the more unusual histories in the AI industry. It first built a business selling virtual real estate in the metaverse before acquiring part of a humanoid robot technology through Simulacra, the parent company of RealDoll, which spent decades creating hyper-realistic sex dolls before expanding into sex robots. Realbotix CEO Andrew Kiguel says that the businesses are being separated and that Realbotix will focus on education, healthcare, and professional markets. We have no reason to doubt them, but it is an unlikely path for a company that is now helping shape the future of the classroom. A recent NPR report suggests that startups, even some in the heart of Silicon Valley, are increasingly turning to Chinese AI models to power their businesses. For some time, we've been reporting that companies are questioning the cost of AI. Some studies have even suggested that replacing workers with AI can actually cost more than the employees they were meant to replace. Now we're beginning to see another phase. Startups aren't abandoning AI, but they might be abandoning expensive AI. For many reasons, some of these companies may not want to talk about using Chinese AI, but NPR reports that startup Lindy found that Anthropic's models had become its single largest operating expense, bigger than payroll or rent. And the company switched to China's DeepSeek model, saying it dramatically reduced costs while still delivering the performance it needed. And Lindy isn't alone. Venture capitalist Chamath Palihapitiya says one company working with his firm switched to Moonshot, AI's Kimi model, because it was, in his words, way more performant and, frankly, just a ton cheaper than both Anthropic or OpenAI. Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky also confirmed that the company's customer service AI relies heavily on Alibaba's Qwen model, calling it very good, fast, and cheap. Even NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang recently noted that Qwen has become the world's most downloaded open-source AI model. And the reason is simple: economics. The latest flagship models from OpenAI and Anthropic can cost 10 to 30 times more than leading Chinese open-source models for API output tokens. Google's Gemini has narrowed the gap, but only marginally, and xAI's Grok is priced lower still, but even Grok can't compare to DeepSeek, Kimi, and Qwen that remain dramatically less expensive, costing a tiny, tiny fraction of a U.S. model. Most experts believe that the latest American models lead on toughest reasoning tasks, but as Featherless CEO Eugene Chia told NPR, choosing an AI model is often like choosing between a Ferrari and a Honda. The Ferrari is unquestionably a more capable machine. But if all you need is a reliable way to get to work every day, the Honda is good enough and a lot less expensive. And that's becoming a compelling argument for startups who have to manage their costs and their runway, and even cost-conscious businesses. And because these are open source models, companies don't have to send their customer data to China. They can run the models on their own infrastructure, under their own security policies, and Microsoft has even helped legitimize the approach of using Chinese models by making DeepSeek available through its Azure AI platform. I keep saying that irony is dead, but for decades, American companies excelled at designing innovative products only to see the manufacturing move to China as those products became commoditized and China became the cheapest place to make them. The winning formula became American innovation paired with lower-cost Chinese production. What if AI is entering a similar phase? Silicon Valley may continue producing the frontier models, but Chinese open-source models might become the affordable engines powering products around the world. It's too early to know where the industry is headed, but for an increasing number of startups and any business that's cost-constrained, the most important benchmark may no longer be which AI is the smartest. It may simply be which AI they can afford. Recently, we reported that opposition to AI data centers was no longer coming exclusively from environmental groups or what might be termed the political left. And this weekend, the conservative organization Humans First is organizing what it's calling a nationwide day of protest, with more than 120 demonstrations planned across 37 states opposing the rapid expansion of AI data centers. And the movement is being led by none other than Amy Kremer, one of the best-known figures from the Tea Party movement and a co-founder of Women for Trump. Kremer says the data center issue is becoming for conservatives what government spending was for the Tea Party in 2009, arguing that grassroots Republicans are being ignored while governments offer generous incentives to build massive AI facilities. The protesters cite concerns over rising electricity costs, water consumption, tax incentives for technology companies, land use, noise, and the impact AI could have on jobs and local communities. Humans First isn't calling for a national ban on data centers, but it says local communities should have the final say over whether these projects are built. It's another sign that resistance to AI infrastructure is broadening. As we've said in the past, as AI companies race to build larger and more powerful models, they may find that getting permission to build the data centers that power them is becoming just as challenging as developing the technology itself. Recently, we also reported on Microsoft's latest restructuring of its Xbox division, including layoffs, studio closures, and questions about the future of its gaming business. Now, the criticism from inside one of Microsoft's flagship studios is becoming increasingly blunt. An anonymous developer at ID Software, speaking to Game Developer, criticized Microsoft's decision to lay off staff just one day before the release of Doom: The Dark Ages Revelation, saying, "They didn't even wait to see if the product was successful before they got rid of the team." The timing has fueled criticism. Since its release, this new version of Doom has earned strong reviews on Steam and become one of the highest-rated games of 2026 on OpenCritic. These comments come in the wake of stories of Microsoft's latest Xbox restructuring, where we were reminded that Microsoft spent about $69 billion acquiring Activision Blizzard, and now the company says it has to reshape its gaming business for long-term sustainability, but repeated layoffs, canceled projects, and studio reorganizations are creating growing uncertainty in the company and across the industry. And more than a little bitterness. The anonymous developer saved the harshest criticism for Microsoft's management of its gaming business, saying, "There are no benefits to being owned by Microsoft, and in an even more pointed assessment, they have destroyed immense amounts of value that I don't even think they're aware of." And that's our show. Wow. When I said we'd be offering my first novel on Kindle to our subscribers free for 5 days, a lot of you took me up on it. And good for you. Our numbers went through the roof, and I'm glad to see it. You still have a few more days. The offer is over on Saturday, so if you want your free copy of ELISA, get over to Amazon before they cut this off. Search for ELISA, ELISA, and Jim Love. I have to warn you, this isn't Anthropic. There won't be an extension. I'm not even sure that Amazon would let me. But if you do get a copy and you can leave a 5-star review, it's a big help. It amazed me how much the volume of reviews matter. Equally surprising is that only 5- and 4-star reviews count. 3 or under are a disaster. Life is cruel. But fortunately, most of the people who read it seem to like it. I'm working like mad to get through the final draft, and once again, a lot of you have asked to be in the early reader group, so I am moving that forward. You can still sign up. Go to technewsday.com or .ca, use the Contact Us form, or send me a link. You can go to my site, elisabook.com, or email me at therealjimlove@gmail.com, or find me on LinkedIn. You'll find a way. I'm still aiming for the end of this month for the soft launch, and I hope I'll make it. But as I've said, I won't release it unless I think, even in the early draft for your comments, that it's the work that I'm proud of. Anyway, that's the update. Thank you all so much. It means a lot to me, not as an ego thing, but when you create a novel or any work of art, you want to share it. And here's something I want to share with all of you. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a thrilling Thursday.